Welcome back to Blind Man Morris and all about clutches today. And it's all about clutches because we've recently pulled two engines out of two of our cars and replaced the clutches and the bearings. So here we have the two clutches. This is an aftermarket clutch and this is an aftermarket clutch. This one over here is an old Borg and Beck, not the new stuff. So that's an old one and this is the new one. And we're going to go over some of the components, have a look at wear, and then some of the options of where you can get a decent clutch kit from. So let's start with the outside. This is the outside of your clutch, the clutch housing, and here is
the bearing thrust plate.
Your bearing thrust plate, which I never get right. So that's what that is. So when you put your foot down on your clutch, it engages with this via your clutch bearing and pushes against it, and it pushes down like that towards your flywheel and your clutch disc, which is under here. So here is your clutch disc. And this is the bit that does, well, this is the major component. Very complicated piece of engineering. So you've got the teeth in the middle, which sit on your drive shaft or your input shaft. And then you've got these springs. Now, these springs are for taking all the torque and spreading the pressure. So they're like dampers, little spring dampers, and they shouldn't be loose. They can be a bit of movement. And as you can see, they've taken a lot of a poundage over the years, so they're quite loose. And then on the outside of here is the friction linings on that side and on that side.
They're like brake pad
they are
material,
similar,
aren't they, basically?
Yeah, they're similar to that. And with these, and especially on this one, don't know if you can see this, you can tell when your friction liners are gone on your clutch disc because these rivets here, these countersunk rivets here, you shouldn't be able to feel the outside of them there. And they are now above the lining there. So that lining is shot. You see that?
You can,
You
yeah.
can feel it
I mean, they're not
than see
completely
it.
gone, but you can see in some of them it's worn, isn't it?
It's gone.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Yeah,
they're gone.
Now, why the lining matters because the clutch is the thing in between an engine and a gearbox, so it's transmitting the power from the engine through to the gearbox and to the wheels to make the car move, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is actually pinned like a sandwich in between those two things.
Yeah, well, it is using these big springs.
Yes.
So when this is bolted down to your flywheel, like that, the clutch disc is in the way between there and they're sandwiched through, and it's absolutely smacked right up against your flywheel. Really
Everything's
tight.
spinning.
Everything's spinning. It all spins together until you put your foot on there. And that separates those components and makes it loose and pushes that away from your flywheel and disengages the drive from your gearbox so you can change gear. So that's what that does. So let's have a look at this old Borg and Beck, which is the one we took out of our 1961 South African Morris, and we know this clutch has done probably just short of 100,000 miles because we've done 60,000 miles. And this clutch, having a look at the paperwork we've got that came with the car, was fitted in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. And even though it's worn, I can show by the springs on that compared to the springs on this. That's loose. That's much stiffer. And let's have a look at this clutch disc.
It has got some wear on it, but it's nowhere near as bad as the other one, is it? And these springs, I don't think move either, do they?
No, there's not a lot of movement in them. I mean, that's still in reasonable nick, but I think there's some damage to the
bearing thrust plate,
which I could never remember because what happened was us being lazy and waiting for a point where we could change the clutch and pull the engine. Our clutch bearing started to wear down and down and down until it was almost non-existent, and the metal started catching this here, this friction liner here, and then you can see these divots in it, and that is the damage. So that's the old clutches. So let's put those on one side a minute.
Oh, do you know what? Is it useful to say how you tell which way around it goes? If you take your,
hang on.
Take the clutch disc out.
Well, I was going to show on the new one because it was clearer.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So let me get the new one out. Hang on. Don't interfere.
Okay.
I was almost on a roll there.
Sorry.
So here we are. So here is an old Borg and Beck which has been remanufactured. Now we've gone for a remanufactured clutch because we're not very happy with the quality of clutches that are appearing on the aftermarket at the minute. So your Gurnings and your Borg and Becks and your just basically bog standard unbranded clutches. I've heard quite a lot of bad things about them, so we've decided to go for this, which is remanufactured Borg and Beck, and it's remanufactured by a company in Henstridge called Precision Clutches. There are two other companies that do a similar sort of thing. One is LOF Clutches. They deal with Land Rovers, don't they?
Yeah,
normally?
classic Land Rovers, they do classic cars. They do a minor clutch, and theirs is about 170 something pounds.
Yeah, this
This
is about
was
130, I think.
130, including delivery. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's Norfolk
Yeah,
and
Norfolk
Brake.
Clutch and Brake Company. Yeah.
Norfolk Clutch and Brake Company. So if
I
you
can
want,
put some links in the
well,
video.
knock some links in so you can have a look and you can make your own choice. I can already feel the linings on this clutch disc are much thicker than the ones on those ones. They are. Look, I can actually feel the difference. Way, way thicker. I don't know. You won't be able to tell. Oh, you can. Look, if I hold those together, look, you see the difference in the depth.
Yes, you can. I didn't do that very well.
See there's several mil.
You
Look,
move
can you see
your
that?
right hand slightly. No, the other one.
Well, I'm holding them together. Hold on, let me level them up
There
again.
we go.
There we go.
There you can.
So that's the thickness of the liners.
Yeah.
On the friction liners. And can you see where it says flywheels?
It's the other side.
Yeah, there we go. Let's see if we can find it.
So it says here, flywheel side.
So when you get your clutch kit and you go to fit your clutch, it always says flywheel side. I think on all of them.
It does. I'll just pick one of these up. You can see.
What worn out.
Yeah, you
says
can
it on
see
there.
it there. Look.
Yeah.
Flywheel side. Yep.
So it does, even on the old ones. So there you go. So it's a case of how much money we want to spend. I think probably in the long run, I've got to clean these. They're dusty and they've got grease on them before I fit them on the car. So when you come to buy your clutch kit, I think it would be worth spending an extra few quid and buying a better clutch. Otherwise, you're going to be ending up pulling your engine again. And if you've had to take it to a garage to have your clutch fitted, it's going to cost you probably in excess of 500 quid plus the clutch kit plus VAT to have your engine pulled or gearbox pulled to have your clutch fitted, and you don't want to be doing that twice. So I should spend a little bit of extra money at the start, buy a decent clutch kit from one of those three companies. There may be others out there. Do your own due diligence, but I would avoid the pattern part.
There's not a lot of difference in price actually, because
Clutches.
the pattern part would be about 90 something, 92 probably the least you could get it for, including delivery.
Yeah.
So a Girling or a Borg and Beck, a new Borg and Beck, whereas that, to say, with delivery was 134 and LOF so 170.
Yes. And the other thing to mention is probably the quality of clutch bearings, release bearings, which are, I've got one in the workshop somewhere. There's a clutch release bearing which you fit in the clutch forks in your gearbox, and they're not very good. So it's whether or not you can get a decent one with your clutch kit, and if you can't, you're better off trying to find new old stock made in Britain anthracite bearing. So next time we go to the National or Bewley, we're going to be hunting around for some old anthracite bearings to fit a 1098 or a 948 clutch. I'm going to buy a couple and we're going to put them in a workshop because I think the quality is not going to improve.
You made a good point. That's a 1098 clutch. We should say that. That's a 1098
There is a difference.
Clutch. There is a difference.
There is a difference due to the thickness of the flywheel. Yes.
Well, actually, no, the whole clutch is a different shape.
It is. Yeah. It is. Is that it? Got any more? So to round off, if you've had to take your engine and or your gearbox out, if you've reached that point of dismantling your car, and you look at your clutches and they look all right, actually just change them. If you've got the engine out or your gearbox out, it's always best practice to change your clutch, all the components, and your clutch release bearing, and get some new decent stock. And there we go.